Hey guys, welcome back to Boho Jewel. I have been obsessed with alcohol inks this last couple of weeks again, and so I wanted to show you guys what I've been working on. This one's really shiny because I've already got resin on it. I have a couple other small ones just so you can kind of see what I've been playing with the inks. They are so much fun. I think it's just it's just such a loose material to work with. There are some little tips and tricks and techniques that you can use to get certain effects, but really you just kind of have to let the inks do what they're going to do. And sometimes, like on this one, I had a really cool pattern right through here, and then I overworked it, and I thought, oh, poop, but then it actually worked out okay because I just kind of let it do its thing and kept working. So I wanted to show you what I've been using to create these. I'm going to be making some more of these. This one's not completely finished. So I will show you, this one is my experiment piece, if you can't tell. So what I was finding, they come in a really nice natural wood finish, and I actually had wanted to leave that around some of them. But the first one I did, I noticed ink on the edges, kind of like this one. This one right here, I totally spilled the ink, so you can see the difference. But I noticed all these little places coming up, and I thought, man, I must have bumped into the sides and not realized it, but that's not the case. It actually bleeds through. So you can see right here, once the ink soaks through, it kind of bleeds through on the sides and right through here, which is really weird. But it's what it does. It doesn't come through the back, so the back is sealed, and it's intended, these little panels are intended for liquid mediums, so alcohol inks, liquid acrylics, things like that. But it does bleed through here. That's why I started painting them black. And that can be tricky, and if you're a perfectionist like me, these little places right here make you crazy. I could probably get some tape and do that, but quite honestly, kind of tape the edges off a little bit, but quite honestly, that has never worked well for me either. And then it just frustrates me even more. But I'm going to list the materials that I'm sharing with you down in the description below. I'm going to try to find some links so it's easy for you to purchase from Amazon if you're looking on Amazon. So these are the Da Vinci liquid art panels. This one's 8x10. These smaller ones were 6x6. So they come in all different sizes, so you can have plenty of options. It's got some pretty pictures on the back, and then I've just been using Liquitex paint, the Mars Black, for my edges, simply because that's the paint that I have at home when I'm doing paintings. So let's jump right in. Alrighty, so we've got this one all painted, and it's still a little bit wet, so I'm going to be careful how I move it around. Don't want to mess up the paint. And so you'll notice like a few places where it kind of overlapped a little bit. Make sure you're using a really clean brush with clean bristles. I don't know how well it shows, but some of these places, these little lines right there, that's because my brush, I noticed a little too late, had some stray hairs. So the bristles, after they've been used for a long time, can sort of start to fray. I'm sure if you've painted at all, you know that. My mistake for not double checking, but I think now we're just going to kind of work with it and maybe just do some dark colors around the edges. How's that sound? So there we go. I moved it a little bit closer so you guys can really see how the inks interact with each other. And I've got my reusable gloves on. These are actually hairstyling gloves. I will see if I can find a link for this down below. These are what I use when I color hair because they wash off really easily, and I can just reuse them and reuse them 100,000 times. and turn them inside out, clean the inside as well. You can see where the inks and things are on here. So I'm not usually very prissy when I get creative, and I don't mind getting a little dirty, but with the inks, like, that stuff really stays a while. So I am going to be a little bit prissy and wear gloves. So I've got quite the variety of Ranger inks that I'm starting to collect. I love them. I haven't really used any other alcohol inks, so if you guys do, please let me know if you have one that's your favorite. We're just going to get in here and I'm going to play, and you can watch and see how things sort of interact with each other. So I turned off my ring light because I know there was a lot of glare on there, and I just wanted to take a second to show you guys in what natural light I have of all the really cool things that are happening here with the inks. So as they sit and kind of finish drying and developing, it will keep moving around. So that's the fun thing about this. That's why I say it's a very, it's fluid, obviously, literally and figuratively. You kind of just have to go with it, with what it does. And you can see, hopefully, from the video clip that, the more you play around with these, the more different effects you'll get. So like once it's dry and you add that alcohol ink, or not the alcohol ink, the alcohol blending solution, how it sort of reinvigorates some of those places, and you can create a little more. And then what I was showing you with the mixative, you have to definitely shake those up, and they're thicker. So they're a little bit thicker than the inks. Hopefully that little bubble will come out. I'm gonna have to pop them with something. Let's see. There we go. Just there we go. So they'll sort of just sit. But if you put them down first and let them sit for a moment and then drop some alcohol ink in it, you get this really fun fizzling sort of effect. So lots of possibilities with this, lots of fun things. So the next thing I'm going to show you is what I do to fill them with resin. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you my resining technique and tips. So I like to use the amazing clear cast resin. This is what I've been using for jewelry projects for years. I really like it. I like how clear it sets. I like that there's not a lot of bubble action, and it doesn't yellow very quickly. So I just really enjoy working with this. It's very simple. You have your side A and your side B. So you have your resin and your hardener, and you just mix them in equal parts. So these are the little measuring cups that they came with. And I'm not going to tilt it because it already has resin in it. But they have millimeters on the sides of them. So if you're using 10 millimeters of side, or 10 milliliters of side A, you would use 10 milliliters of side B. The main thing is when you're mixing your resin, you're going to have some bubbling happening in the mixture, you know, just air getting in there. So the slower you can mix it, the better. And you just want to gently kind of stir it until you get rid of that cloudiness. So you can see kind of how cloudy that is. So you want to mix both sides equally together, just very gently. So I'm using 2 cups of this. So I've got 20 ounces in one and 20 in the other. I'm mixing up all my measurements. Let me see if these are in milliliters or ounces, because I said ounces and I said milliliters first. I can't read it right now. Anyway, equal parts. I'll check it in a second. I can't see it right now. But I'm using 2 of the little cups for this larger piece. For the smaller ones, the little square ones, I just used 1 full cup. So if you're like me, that's going to make more sense. 1 cup for the smaller ones, and I'm going to use 2 for the larger ones, just because I want it to evenly get across the surface and give a nice coat and make it look like it's behind glass, but it doesn't need to be crazy thick, and I also don't want it to be too thin. So I just saw that 1 cup worked really well for the smaller ones. So when you're stirring your resin, probably about a minute for the small cups like this, just to get it mixed evenly and thoroughly. And when you mix your resin, you want to be ready to use it right away, because it will start to, I mean, the chemical reaction happens. It's going to start trying to set and dry as soon as you have it mixed. So it's not something you want to let sit around forever. It's going to start getting thicker on you, because you can see how kind of runny it is. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's very liquidy. So what I like to do is sometimes just set it aside. I'm just going to kind of drop it on my table, just like you would a cake in a pan, you know, if you do any baking. Get some of those bigger bubbles out, and I'm going to set this one aside, and we're going to start with the one that's been sitting while I was talking and stirring that one. Now, don't make this too complicated. I'm basically just going to pour it into my frame. Just like that. So one thing with this, I like to pour a little bit into the corners. I'm going to have to come back with the other one. Just to kind of, and then just nudge it. So this is a little plastic spatula that came with another kit, and I really like this. You'll find the wooden spatulas, like a lot of times people use the, oh gosh, what are they called? Like the tongue depressors for craft projects like this and everything, and that's fine. I try to keep my throwaway, my waste, as low as possible. So the nice thing with these is that I can just wipe it off when I'm done with a cloth, and it just, the resin slides right off and we're good to go. I'm also looking into, so like I said, these little cups came with the kit, and I will link that kit below. It's this amazing clear cast 2-part coating kit, so you get some goodies in there. Yeah, I think this came with the wooden ones. So you get a couple of cups and everything, enough to get you started. But they do have silicone measuring cups, so I'm looking into getting one of those so that I'm not constantly throwing away the little plastic cups. So I'm just going to kind of scoot that into the corners. I might actually need one more cup for these bigger ones, because that does not look like it's going to be as much as I want. Yeah, that's not going to be anywhere near enough. All right. All right, guys, hold that thought while I mix up another little cup. All right, so anything and everything can go wrong when you're trying to do a video, I think. At least it's not live, so you guys didn't have to witness all the disaster that just happened. So I was mixing this cup up and then I knocked it over on my table, so I had to clean up a little spill and then remix it just to make sure the measurements were accurate in here. But so one thing that makes me want to point out is make sure you're working on a work surface that you're not afraid to mess up. And if you do spill resin on your table, make sure you clean it up right away, because otherwise it's going to be there forever. I have little resin droplets everywhere on tables. I've even got a couple in my bathroom sink. So yeah, it is what it is. And also, you know, don't feel too pressured. I know I said, you know, definitely start working with your resin immediately once it's mixed, but you do have about 30 minutes of working time with it before it starts to really harden and set up. So it's no big worry. You'll be okay. It'll be okay. So I'm just kind of trying to get everything all over my surface as much as possible. And so these cups are in milliliters. They're in milliliters. And one suggestion I have for you is, you can't really see it well now, but it goes all the way up to 30. I wouldn't recommend trying to mix 15 and then 30 because it can get really, really messy. With the side A, it's very thick. And so it's very easy for it to, like once you pour it, it's easy for it to kind of go over that 15 milliliter, or oh my goodness, if I can't say milliliter when I'm supposed to, over that mark. And so that just gives you a little wiggle room. So that's why I did 10 milliliters on each one for the side A. And then it did kind of, once it settles, it ended up being sort of like 12. So then that gives you some wiggle room to adjust your side B. So all I'm doing, I'm just gently taking my little spatula and making sure that there aren't any empty spaces. Just kind of gently move it around. The less you work it, the better, I feel like. I mean, this resin is a nice resin, so I'm just getting into all the little nooks and crannies. You don't want to create bubbles. You don't want to put extra bubbles in it. But like I said, that's one reason I really enjoy this resin, is because it doesn't really bubble up a lot. So I'm just kind of checking and making sure that the whole surface is covered, and that's really it. And so then I'm just going to wipe a little excess off of my spatula, and I just have my old cloths here. And I wipe it off, and then I'm going to rinse it off, and it's perfect to use again. So, and I love these. I wish I knew what kit these came with. I'll see if I can find a link, maybe if they're sold separately somewhere. But they just work so well, and they're just really nice. So then I'm just going to kind of take a look, kind of sideways, make sure everybody's filled in, and I don't have any bubbles. Yep, there was one, and it's gone. And again, you can do the sort of the cake pan thing, and just kind of let that air come to the surface. So lovely, lovely. A couple little bubbles. So now if you do have some bubbles in there, usually I've noticed with this resin, again, it sort of settles itself out. It's not really ever been an issue. But I do have a little bottle of just rubbing alcohol. Now this came with a candle making kit, or soap making kit rather. But you can just get a little spray bottle. Just make sure you label it. And just a little mister. And just kind of from a distance, just a really light mist across the top, and that will help pull some of the bubbles out as well. Just don't get too heavy-handed with it. And then the key, ooh, smell that rubbing alcohol in the morning. Oh my goodness. So, powerful stuff. So, and then the key is to let the resin sit for 24 hours undisturbed. Don't do this, okay? Don't test it. Don't test it. It's tempting, but don't do it. You'll get so mad if it's not quite ready and you have a big fingerprint in there. So just set it somewhere where it will be undisturbed by you, by, you know, pets, children, whoever. So we have a cat, so I've actually been setting mine in the downstairs bathroom where she doesn't get in. So that's the safest place. And then 24 hours before you even think about touching it, you'll be able to tell for the most part once it's really nice and glossy and it looks like a piece of glass and it feels nice and smooth and a nice piece of glass, like a piece of glass. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments if you plan on doing this, and I'd love to see your pictures too. If you guys have Instagrams, tag me at Boho Jewel. I'd love to check it out and see what you're creating from the videos that I share. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy that. These would, I feel like these would be fun gifts. A friend of mine actually came by yesterday. I did her hair, and she wants me to make 4 of the little square ones for her bathroom. I thought, hey, that'll be fun. So very customizable. All right, you guys, I hope everybody has a great day. Stay creative. I'll see you soon.